emotional support some people are like, ooh, what do you do?
Oh my God, you do what? Where? Oh my God, what have you heard?
And like, did you know you want to do this as a kid? It's like, no, like everybody didn't know what sex was, really? So, no, I didn't.
During my morning voice. You're listening to Spicy Bananas podcast where nothing's off limits. Everything's on the table. We dive into body confidence, sexuality, relationships, and all the juicy bits in between.
There's a lot of juicy bits.
I know.
We're your hosts, B1 and B2. We've had all the awkward combos behind the counter, and now we're going to have them on the mic.
Well, today's theme, let's get into the real talk. Why women just aren't vibing with sex. Why men feeling lonelier than ever in relationships, and what it takes to bridge that emotional sexual disconnect.
So joining us today is Angela Skirtu. Did I pronounce you right, Angela?
You did great. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple sex therapists of nearly 20 years and the brain behind a refreshingly raw YouTube channel where she tackles everything from learning to enjoy oral sex to helping couples reconnect in the bedroom. She's bold, she's funny, and she's not afraid to talk about the stuff most people won't. So welcome. Angela.
This is so exciting.
Oh, I really liked that intro. I'm going to have to steal that from you.
Oh, we'll send it to you.
Thanks.
Angela, how many times have people blushed when they find out about what you do for a living? We get it working in an adult store, but you're next level sex therapist. How do you
you guys probably get more of the blushing than I do. I get 3 responses. Some people are like, ooh, what do you do? Like, that's one. Another one is like frozen, like deer in headlights. And then the third is run away.
She's going to ask you to say
like they walk as far away as possible. Well, so I imagine the frozen ones are probably blushing, right? Like, oh, no, sex.
Yeah. And I hope she doesn't ask me a question. Oh gosh, I'm going to sink back into my cave right now.
Well, and we're in different countries, right? So I'm not sure what it's like in Australia, but in the US, we are just terrified of sex. Like that is the status quo. Like you bring up sex in the room, people are like, I don't know how to address this.
Yeah, wow.
So it's like here. Yeah.
It is a bit like that here. And then you do get the ones that are like, oh my God, you do what? Where? Oh my God, what have you heard?
Yeah.
What stories have you got? The juicy ones. It's like, well, we can't actually tell you that information,
We stay semi-professional to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
Which is really hard for us.
How much do you guys get people blushing then? Like, is it a regular thing for you too?
It's breaking down that barrier in a sense that counselling sort of feel open-ended questions, relaxing them. It changed the topic. Weather's always a funny thing to talk about. And in Brisbane, the weather's been all over the shop. So it's an icebreaker sometimes, or you can talk about their car because we can see their cars in the car park and just sort of face it back around to them, get that sort of comfort level going. And they go, right.
Ease them in and they're like, oh, I don't feel so bad now. I can actually talk about my sex life to this complete stranger because clearly she works here for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it's like in there.
I imagine it's probably different in the sex toy shop too. Like in my office, I have it kind of like low key, but I'll put little things like these are my BDSM bears, for example. So little things, but they could like not notice at all that I had these things, right? So I call them like sprinkles of sex around, like little sprinkle here, little sprinkle there. And a lot of it's goofy and quirky. So I use a lot of humor. I mean, as you guys mentioned, I'm kind of like refreshingly raw, but I use a lot of just humor and playfulness to help people kind of come down from their like,
Perfect.
Goofy and campy.
Good.
Yeah. Well, it does. It sort of it relaxes you a lot. What led you into this kind of work, and did you always know you'd be talking about sex relationships?
So I didn't always know. I think, it's funny. I've been asked the question, like, did you know you wanted to do this as a kid? It's like, no. Like, I didn't even know what sex was, really. So, no, I didn't. But I do. So when I grew up in purity culture, And purity culture in the US is where basically they shame you for sex outside of marriage. Anything sexual, it's usually religious based. And so I grew up with a lot of shame and religious trauma essentially around sex. And then what happened though is I still was that kind of unfiltered friend that everybody would talk to about different things. And so I remember because of purity culture, a lot of my friends got married at very young ages, like 19, 20. And then about a year later, they would still talk to me because, again, I'm the unfiltered friend. And they'd say to me, Angela, I'm not enjoying sex with my husband anymore. I'm kind of just doing it for him now. And I just remember, like, it's probably my like sense of injustice. Like, that's not fair. They told us, they sold us that this is going to be great. And now it's not great for my friends. What gives, you know? But like when you basically make sex so shameful like that, then it becomes almost impossible to switch over. Like a ring on your finger doesn't change like years of negative messaging, right? Like, oh, I'm good now. Let's just spread my legs and have a great time. It's like, no, like you learn to shut your desire naturally down. And that's what was happening with my friends. And then at the same time, it's funny that you guys are you do sex toys or you work with sex toys because there was this older woman, Sue Johansson, who was on TV and she would like bring up these different sex toys and she had tried them out and she'd rate them and answer questions on air. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, wow.
I love that.
It's a combination of those that got me into this field.
Yeah,
It is, yeah. It's funny because I did hospitality for so long and seen this job come up. And I hadn't ever been in an adult store. And when I went for the interview, I sat there going, oh, what am I doing? Like, really, I've walked in and there's just everywhere I'm looking around going, oh.
Dildos, dongs.
Yeah, the size of your arm. And it's like, wow, how am I going to sell these? But you kind of switch into that professional mode, I guess, don't you, when it's helping people out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what led you into this kind of work? And did you know you'd always be talking about sex and relationships for a living?
Well, so I mean, what I just said earlier about like, you know, I did know that I was going to talk about sex and relationships for a living. I knew I wanted to be a sex therapist after I spoke with Sue Johansson, or not, I didn't speak with Sue Johansson. I was watching the show about Sue Johansson. And so then after that, I went ahead and I got a license as a marriage therapist. So I knew I wanted to do sex therapy as my main job. But to become a sex therapist here in the US, you have to first get licensed in some mental health field. So what I did is I went and got a couples and family therapy training and got licensed in that first. And then I went for the ASEX certification because that's our certifying board. And then it's interesting because here in St. Louis, it's not easy. It's not easy to market yourself as a sex therapist. It's still somewhere in that Bible Belt space. So much of my like marketing started as a couples therapist, like St. Louis marriage therapy, everything marriage, marriage, marriage. So it's like, it's okay. We can talk about sex, but they like skirt it under that umbrella of marriage.
Yeah.
But now I've been doing it for long enough that I just have gotten more comfortable putting it right out there. And I'm even like in local business networking groups and they're like, they just love that there's a sex therapist in their midst, right? Like I'm the only person of my field usually in these different networking groups. And so I've gotten a lot of like encouragement, at least in the business field. So yeah, I don't know that I knew that I was going to be talking about sex for as long as I have, but I definitely have leaned fully in to the sex therapy world.
Yeah.
Quick question. Do you have your vulva puppet with you?
I do. It's in a briefcase. Would you like me to pull it out?
No, I just want to know where to get one.
We love one. Yeah.
So cool.
So it is hard to find. When I was looking for the vulva puppet, I looked up vulva puppet and all I could find was porn. And my husband, I know, right? Like I was like, I want a vulva puppet. He's like, my husband's like, move, I'll find it for you. He had to like sort through all the porn to find a vulva puppet for me. But you can buy them online. I actually met the lady at my ASECT conference who sells the vulva puppets because I think it's just this one lady out here in the United States doing it. But there might be, I don't know, do you guys have people selling vulva and penis puppets there?
No. It'd be so good to have in the store.
Yeah. Just to explain for men, to explain different areas of the woman, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I know you can buy like a clitoris. Like I have this close by, so I know you can buy clitoris on Amazon. But like there at the ASEC conference, which is where I get certified, we have different people show up, and there was another lady who had like this clitoris inside a vulva sort of mold, so you could pull the clitoris out, but put it right where it was like supposed to be in the vulva. And at some point, I've got to get that because I was like, oh, that's so smart.
Yeah. Just dissecting it.
Yeah, it's like this is what we mean by the clitoris, right?
Yes. There. You've said men are feeling isolated in their relationships. What's feeding that loneliness, and how does it show up?
Well, that is such a good question. So one of the things that's getting in the way for men is that in our society, we only allow men to have three feelings. We let them feel angry, horny, or winning. That's it. Those are the three. And they're abused for every other emotion. And so what's creating this loneliness is essentially an inability to be themselves as a whole person. I have this, you guys mentioned that I have the YouTube channel, right? So I have these whole videos about like male sexuality. One is called You're Not Dick Dimensional, and another one is like Stop Disrespecting Your Dick. So like, a lot of dick language, but like the reality is they put so much pressure on their dicks to perform that they are struggling to be like whole sexual people. And they're not given a lot of freedom to have the other emotions. And so what I'm really trying to do is help them have all of the emotions. So I'll like give them their humanity essentially when they're in the office. So this is my office, just so you know, like they'll come right here and sit on that couch. Yeah. Everybody always wants to see the couch, right? Yeah. And this is a therapy couch. But so I'll just tell them, it's okay for you to have these other feelings, and like I'll create a safety for that. Yep. And I think the loneliness comes from not feeling like you can emotionally connect essentially with your partner or other people. Like men, is it similar in Australia? Are men struggling to emotionally connect with other men?
Yeah. I feel it is, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, there's still a barrier there.
Yeah. It's sort of like a tough barrier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't talk about my feelings like that. It's not manly enough.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, societally, we're abusing them for being anything else, right? And so you wonder where this tough guy thing comes from. It's because, so I was at Disney, a couple months ago, and I was watching. So I people watch. I watch everyone like hawks, whether you're aware of like what's going on. And this mom was with her son, and her son fell down and got hurt, and all she did is picked him up and put him in the stroller. She didn't even hug him. And I was like, it's just a small example of the ways that we, like, if her daughter had the same experience, she might have like picked her up and be like, "Oh, are you okay?" But the little child boy is just like, "Meh." There's an implicit message that's being given, which is you don't have a right to have feelings. Just get over it. Yeah. And there are little ways we treat men like that their entire lives. And you wonder, like, why are men so tough? Well, it's like we don't give them permission to be anything else.
So true.
Yeah, that's right.
So true.
Why do you think so many women struggle to enjoy sex or even want it in the first place?
Well, let's flip to how we abuse women. Women are not allowed to feel horny, angry, or competitive, winning. And so I think it starts from a very early age where we prevent women from being their whole selves, just in a different way. So men get three emotions, women get the others. And really, it's societally the way we're raising the two genders. And of course, I know I shouldn't speak only about the two genders. There's different genders represented in our world, of course. But the way we treat people is there's just this binary, and you can either be all this or all this, and there's no in between. And the problem is it's hurting both sexes and the in between sexes as well. And really, we all need freedom to be our whole selves. And so a lot of the work that I do is helping women find access to their desire and their intimacy, that it's okay to be sexual, and like, it doesn't make you a slut, but even if it does, it's okay to be a slut, like that it's whatever like some of it can be re-owning a sexual label for yourself, like taking back, like, no, I had this lady on my podcast who said she's a cuddle slut, but like that's her owning that language. So it's not like shaming, but it's like, I like this. I feel good and connected to this. But if somebody has shame around that language, then I might use different language with them to help them kind of connect to, okay, well, you can be your own sexual person, but what is your version of sexuality, for example? And I think for women, it's so personal. And I would say the process is a long process to help them kind of reconnect to their body sexually, depending on how much they went through, like whether their family was open about sex or whether their family was very shaming or condemning. Yeah. So it can depend. What do you see in your toy shops? Like what are you seeing with women?
I'm actually really impressed with the mothers bringing their daughters in when they turn 18. And it's just that it's get to know your body first and know your yeses and nos or that sort of thing. But the mother not necessarily will hang right around the daughter. She'll just bring her in, come in, because we've got some really good reviews. We've worked there so long.
And it's an experience going into an adult store, but you really do need to pick the right adult store in saying that as well. So it's that whole experience from walking in that door to the actual finished product. So we pride ourselves on education massively, and using the clinical words too, like without going into saying different words that males can be sidetracked. If we said, if we didn't say vagina, if we said, I don't know, well, fanny's kind of different for you guys in America, right? The fanny is a vagina here. If we said fanny, or what's another word?
Can't think.
Because we're in the clinical mode right now. So it's hard to think of the naughty word.
Is the word that people use, right?
Instead of sex, we say intercourse. Instead of cock, we say penis. The vulva, we announce or pronounce the body parts clinically.
Yeah.
It keeps their mind on a clinical level too.
Up here instead of them thinking down here.
Yeah. And they sort of get a bit more involved. They listen a bit better. And we do a lot of write-ups, educational write-ups at certain parts where the penis pumps are, where penis rings are, Kegel balls.
Yeah, Kegel balls, pelvic floor balls, just that education there. If we see them stop to read it, we're like, now we're going to have a chat.
Yeah.
It's like a museum of sex toys.
It sounds like it, isn't it? Just come through there.
Oh, what's the history of this one?
Well, it's that one.
I find it interesting because I'm less clinical, right? Like, it's funny. Maybe it's the difference in the setting, because for me, like, people are already like kind of too high level, too overthinky. So I actually use more of their language. Like, I'm more likely to use pussy or like a joke language. I will still use the real language too. But again, it's because I'm trying to bring down their nervousness around it. And so sometimes humor is just like the greatest way in my field to help them say, oh, she's that person. You can talk to her about those things. But I could see on your side, like, you've got the sex toys around. So you want to give them a little more of like a professional vibe. Like, hey, this is educational. Like, we're teaching you things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Or otherwise they think that we go around, use the toys on a daily basis in the store. So it's like, no. So
so many misunderstandings, right?
You must have so much fun. Yes, we do. It's retail. It's awesome.
Wait, you don't have a masturbatory room somewhere in the back?
Well, some think there is, but no. No. No thanks. You pull your pants back up and get outside. How do you help partners, reframe intimacy and when it starts feeling more like a chore than a connection?
So I actually cover this some in my book. So I don't know if you guys saw, but I do have a book, From Fuck No to Fuck Yes Sex, and it's the first book in my Open Bedroom Doors book series. And what I'm really doing is teaching people creative sexuality. So how I reframe intimacy is that your whole body is capable of giving and receiving pleasure from head to toe. And that, I think I do that with those videos, right? You're not dick dimensional, you're a whole person. Well, your whole body is capable of pleasure too. And so I really try to help couples access new ways to be intimate. And there's a variety of ways I do that. Sometimes I do it with games. Like one game I've done is like I have a couple create like different jars or bags, like a G jar, a PG jar, a PG-13. Those are our ratings for movies. I don't know. I'm learning in that. You guys use them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Like maybe they have it different in Australia, and I don't know. But like what I love about the game of like layering or rating different sexual acts or intimate acts is it actually gets them having better consent conversations around the different things, right? So first they have to think to themselves, what kind of intimacy am I open to tonight? Well, I'm in a G mood. I could be in a PG mood. I don't know. Let's go wild. Whatever they're at, they have to have that communication. And then they're also having communication around what they both agree would go into those bags. So in one of my events I did recently, it was interesting. I had this guy who was pretty immature. I mean, like he's making jokes and they're very inappropriate, which that happens. I get hecklers. It's fine.
Yep.
But I found it interesting as the night progressed because I could see that he was starting to calm down. And by the time we played that game and him and his wife created these different jars, like he's like, I'm having her do it because I often don't know. Like I think this is this, but she's completely different. So I'm wanting her to create it. So I'm learning more about her rating system. And I was just like, the heckler changed.
He heckled him
gold star for that. We give gold stars for good behavior and things.
Okay.
You got some gold stars for that.
Yeah, give you a little gold vulva. There you go.
Oh, I need a gold vulva. I have this golden penis, but I don't know.
You matchy.
When I was in the clay class, I felt like a vulva would be a little more intense to tackle. I thought a penis, I could easily make a penis, but a vulva, I mean, there's so much detail.
Yeah, imagine shaping it and they walk past and you're like,
yeah, I know. Like I'm trying it right now. I'm like, I just feel like I wanted it to look nice. And what if it just looked like a blob and I need more prep?
Oh, wow. Okay, so let's talk about one of your YouTube videos, learning to enjoy oral sex. What blocks women from receiving and how can they shift that? I hear a lot of this.
Yeah, so it's the way they treat their vulva. One of the things is if they have a lot of negative messaging around like my vulva is gross or I don't like the way it looks. So it can be internal monologues that are very shaming. Also, if they did learn about vulvas, like through porn, for example, porn only selects for one kind of vulva and that's it. And like, if that's what you see over and over again, that this is normal and your vulva doesn't look like that, you're going to feel like something's wrong with you too. And so there's a lot of, there can be implicit ways we give people messages that vaginas they smell fine. Like, I mean, think of it, like when people describe how does a vagina smell, what's the first thought that comes to your mind?
Fishy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but does it actually smell fishy?
No.
No, I mean, I don't know if I could explain how it smells because it has its own scent, but it definitely isn't fishy. But like that smell, that is a way of making us feel bad about our scent. And so we don't get a lot of positive messaging around the way our vulvas look and the way they smell. And I think as a result, people create that negative messaging. And so then if you touch or lick or suck something that you're abusing, so think that's what happens is that we get internal monologues of abuse. And if you're abusing it, you literally numb it. Your body has a fight-flight system that dissociates when it is being abused, even if you're the abuser. And so that's what's happening is women may be touching, but if you're up here saying, oh, this is gross, what's wrong with me? They literally can physically desensitize themselves. And so the work that I have to do to help women reconnect to oral sex is treating themselves kinder, treating their vulvas kinder, learning to I guess, fall in love with their vulva again, or at least like a strong like.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I don't know. So you've brought out 3 books.
This is your third book now.
Yeah. So that's your latest book. You've done so much. We've done a lot of research on you.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Even your speaking topics, adult sex education, keeping desire alive, and relationships, relationship repairs, the 5 bad habits of healthy relationships, and the list goes on that you cover. And dinner with a sex therapist. What's that about?
So that is the most recent talk that I've been launching, where I do bring couples together to talk about sex. Essentially, I've rebranded this year to the Open Bedroom Doors brand. And what I'm trying to do is normalize conversations about sex. So Dinner with a Sex Therapist is a monthly meeting where I bring people together to talk out loud about sex. And it is terrifying. I will say it's an uphill battle, because the first thing that everybody thinks is, we're going to talk about it in front of other people.
That's it.
And I'm like, yeah, you are. That's going to happen. So that's always the thing that like makes them a little nervous. But I have lots of different ways that I bring down people's defenses. One thing I do is my sex ed quiz, and I am serious about having gold stars. So like if people get a correct answer for one of my sex ed questions, then they get a gold star. And people wear them like badges of honor, by the way. Like I have clients in the office who will put them on their phones. And so like, I'm just like, do people ask you about the gold stars, and do you tell them where you got it? And they are like, they do. They are happy to share.
Up here, right? Like it's like, oh, I need another gold star. I need another gold star.
Yeah. I mean, we all want a little positive reinforcement, right?
Oh,
it's bigger game. And then I actually do a sex think tank. So in the think tank, I teach one topic about sex, and I invite the couples or the individuals to talk about how they could practically apply it. Like, what can you do to really do this? Because the reality is, I noticed that like if I just teach the skill, like here's how to spice up this, or here's this, then they'll learn the thing and they'll kind of get excited, but then it tapers off, because I still see some of these people in my office, right? And so they'll get a little energy, but it's like, no, I want you to learn how to do this and really do it. When I started to get the couples in this think tank talking and thinking about it and exploring, like, how would you actually do this? They come up with better ideas as a team. And that's the fun part, is when they start bringing up, well, what if you tried this? Like, for example, I taught tantric sex stuff the last time. And all we did was like some deep breathing tantric techniques. And I was like, now, how would you apply this? Like, what can you do to use deep breathing in your sexual experience? And one guy was like, well, could you use it to like slow down your sexual experience? Like maybe like stay in an area for a while? I was like, yeah, that'd be great. That's kind of what I'm teaching.
Yeah, sure.
They need to I don't know everything either. Like I learned from them too, right? And so it's a great way for them to feel like they add something to the equation too.
Yeah.
And then I do a private question and answer. I am getting, it's funny. I have a friend who's making me a bed, like for the questions, so we can slip the index card questions under the mattress. So,
Oh, that's cute.
And it's good.
So that's how I end, just with like anonymous question and answer, because it's sex and people are a little nervous, and so I still want people to just be able to ask the things that they don't know how to ask publicly and that's a way to do that. But the last one, I actually had everybody in the group like give advice to the bigger group. And I thought that was a really cool ender, like having people share what they've learned or what they think would make sex better. I was really surprised by the men too, because of course, men really do want to talk about sex. They just need healthy forums for doing it.
Yes. Yeah, that's so true. We do see that at work with male customers, and over the say months or years that they've been coming there, they might just come and buy a lubricant or something, and now they're actually coming in asking for advice, and it's so they're cracking away that shell that they sort of that barrier that they put up and go, I really do want to ask this. I want to know. So yeah, that's interesting. I
Yeah.
like seeing that.
Yep.
If someone's listening and feels disconnected from their sex life, where should they start?
I wish, well, I'll tell you what I wish would happen and what actually happens. I wish they would talk to each other, right? Like when people feel disconnected, what I would love to see clients do and people listening in is just start talking to your partner about it. And it can start high level, like, hey, I don't know what we can do, but I'd like to talk more about sex and get comfortable talking about this with you. Will you work with me? Well, can we figure this out together? That's what I would like to happen. What typically happens is it depends on whether it's a male or female. I do see a lot of heterosexual couples. Males are actually my highest watcher rate on YouTube, men, because and I can tell you why. It is because they struggle to talk openly about sex. So I have this private forum. They can just watch the videos and be like, what's she saying?
Yeah.
And they have this safe place to watch and learn. And they're watching to figure out how to be with their women. But because men don't want to feel creepy or they don't want to look like that guy, they will find private ways to do it. And women are more likely to do it publicly, but only with other women. Not with their men.
Yeah.
And case in point, so I was at a health and wellness expo, and here's an example of that. Like I people watch, like I said, I'm always watching like hawk, right? So women would come up to me and we'd had this, I did the game and I even did like a little game showy thing at my booth and they were having fun, but it was all women. And the guys, if somebody brought them over, they'd be like, like hide a little bit or they'd hang in the background like, I'm only here because you're forcing me, right? But then as the expo ended and I was packing up, that's when the men came. After the expo was done, and they would just kind of be like, hey, like, what's going on? And like, they wanted to talk, but they just didn't want to be seen.
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it?
Wow. Okay. What's one thing you want people to stop being ashamed about when it comes to sex?
Well, really talking about it. That's why I want to normalize those conversations. It's a healthy, natural part of life.
Yep.
What's that?
Yep. Verbal. Just talk.
Communications.
Yeah. Capital C. The big C.
Yeah. I really do. I just want people to get comfy. Yeah, like big C. Right? Were you talking about cunts?
Yeah. I thought she was going there. I'm like, well, this is very early this morning.
Yeah. That's all right. There's that C, but really communication. Yeah. I just
The two C's.
Yeah.
What's something you guys would like to see change?
Well, yeah, it is the communication. That's what we really, really want to emphasize that. And education is another thing. So exploring your body and exploring when you feel comfortable enough and you're in a partnership with someone, explore each other's body and don't be ashamed or afraid to, yes, you like it or say you don't like it or explain where you want certain things. So that's me.
Body confidence, because
huge.
that can hold you back a lot too, not feeling comfortable in your own body. But yeah, it's education, communication. Yeah, that's a lot to think of.
Yeah, that's out.
That's the main.
Definitely.
That's what we see. But yeah.
Wow. Are we at the end nearly?
We're nearly there.
Wow.
We can talk forever with you.
All right. Where can people follow you, Angela? If they want obviously more of your wisdom, and we've just been in awe of you today. How can our followers then follow you?
Sure. There's a couple ways. My main website is openbedroomdoors.com. You can submit a contact form to become one of my email list subscribers. You can also follow me on YouTube. It's at Open Bedroom Doors. And I do have a private Facebook page. I open bedroom doors as well. Like I really leaned hard into the open bedroom doors.
You're opening a lot of doors.
I want to blast those doors open.
Front doors and back doors. There we go.
And I am, the podcast is coming out soon too. I had an old podcast, so people can check out my previous podcast, which was aboutsexpodcast.com. I did that for a time, and then I took a break and just have been interviewing on other people's podcasts for the last few years. But then I was like, you know what? I'm ready to get back in. So I am creating the Open Bedroom Doors podcast soon too. Because again, like I said, I leaned hard right into we're going to open all those doors. We're going to talk. I'm sick of everybody being quiet.
Yeah. Amen.
All right.
Okay. Well, massive thanks to you, Angela, for bringing the heat and the heart today. Just awesome.
Awesome. So if this episode has made you laugh, blush, or rethink your last bedroom condo, go hit follow, leave a spicy 5-star review, and we'll see you next time. But yes, thank you so much, Angela. It's been a pleasure meeting you. You're amazing.
We'll be definitely following every move you do. Yeah. And hopefully a lot of people do get on to start following you because you've just got a really good feel also. Easy to talk to.
Yeah. You've got the vibe.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Angela.
Have a beautiful day.
Night.
We're day.
We're day.
Go to work.
You guys have a good day.